2023, the Presidential Election Petition Court, PEPC, finally delivered its long-awaited judgments on petitions challenging the outcome of the presidential election held on 25th of February 2023. This judgment was delivered within the statutory time frame under the extant status. We acknowledge the court's contributions to due process and seeming attempt to strengthen our democracy. As petitioners in this case, we respect the views and ruling of the court, but we disagree with the court's reasoning and conclusions in the judgment it delivered. It is my intention as the presidential candidate and the intention of Labour Party to challenge this judgment by way of appeal immediately as allowed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The PEPC has rendered its judgment, but that esteemed body is not the final arbiter. The responsibility now falls on the Supreme Court. I do know that the judgment is not conterminous with justice. I implore Nigerians to remain focused, steadfast, and peaceful, and to abide by the rule of law and understand this matter has not reached its logical conclusion. Our legal team has already received our firm instruction to file an appeal against the decision. I shall not relent in quest for justice, not necessarily for myself, but for indeed for our teeming supporters all over Nigeria, whose mandate to us at the post was regrettably truncated by INEC. The strength and value of our democracy reside on solid national institutions and our confidence in them. Electoral litigations will almost be unnecessary and non-existent if the Independent National Electoral Commission discharges its statutory functions creditably, transparently, and with tenable fairness. When that body fails, as it did recently, thus subverting the will of Nigerian voters, the recourse to judiciary becomes imperative, as is now the case. I thank every Nigerian who has supported our cause and campaign for a new Nigeria, characterized by fairness, equity, justice, rule of law, peace, prosperity, inclusiveness, sustainable growth and development. A new Nigeria is possible and achievable. I especially thank our legal team, the Labour Party and the obedient family, and all those who showed up daily during our court trials. God bless you all, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you. Yesterday, 6th of September 2023, the Presidential Election Petition Court, PEPC, finally delivered its long-awaited judgments on petitions challenging the outcome.
Oh yeah, so you're welcome to today's episode on Dark Room. What do you think section? Well, today the topic is right there, as you can see on the side of the screen, but we might be happening to do more and talk more as regards what's happening and what's going on. I welcome you again one more time to joining me on this session. This is where I hang out with you, and for those out just probably be joining this page, I encourage you to help like, share, and you can as well subscribe right there on Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can as well subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I'm your host, DA, and this program is, this content is going to always be about events and happenings all across the world, with major specification and focus to Nigeria and Africa. And I'll always be the host here, so you can always hang out and let's discuss all that is happening around us in terms of politics, economy, social, political happenings, and everything. So, as you've watched on the video that played before I got to come on, it's a presidential candidate of the LP, Labour Party. That's a political party in Nigeria who. About a day ago, the judgment was given at the election tribunal as regards the election that took place in 2023, which has the current president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as the president right now, and the judgment from the election tribunal upholding the fact that all that was that the LP and the PDP has accused the APC presidential candidate of is nothing but just mere speculations, and all the case were striked out on technicalities, and that has really been a bone of contention all across the social space, and even right there with so many people losing faith in the system. And the Labour Party presidential candidate, as the same as the PDP candidate, has come out to frantically state their intention, which is to progress to the next phase, and that next phase is moving on to appeal the decision of the election tribunal at the Supreme Court. So the presidential candidate of the LP, Peter Obi, has come out with a press conference with a public address to state his intention of moving on with the appeal in what the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has given their verdict on. So with that in mind, critically as a Nigerian, or maybe by and large as party faithfuls in Nigeria, the election tribunal has given different dimension to different people and different opinion and different realization to many people. For some, they've been cheated, they've been openly cheated. For others, it's victory as expected, which is from the APC supporters and fans. And in the end, I think what really is going to matter is the fact that I want to believe that for all, it's all about national progress. It's about the progress, and these are little things that which makes democracy interesting. Is the fact that everyone can disagree without resorting to violence. And I would want to praise the candidates from PDP and LP. They are doing a great job in the sense that they are kind of like able to manage the situation, because what they've been doing, or what they have been able to do, is to make sure their supporting base is right under control with each step that they've taken, with each direction they've gone to. They've put out words out when necessary, and I think those actions that they have taken, that these presidential candidates have taken, have kind of like been able to reduce the tension, reduce the tension, and in a little bit increase the morale of their base, to believing that if they do it this way, they can get the result that they desire. Well, they didn't get the result they desire, but either way, somebody has to win. It is either win or lose when it comes to the game of politics, and when you lose, you have to have the mind to take the loss in good faith. So that I feel that the AP, the LP, and the PDP presidential candidates have been able to achieve. And with that in mind, that is part of what strengthens the democracy in Nigeria, and gives a sort of hope to the fact that truly democracy is being practiced. But other than that, opinions would differ as regards what the expectation is, or what is expected of the verdict from the election tribunal. But for many, it might not be coming as it might not be coming as expected, but it is what it is. The verdict has been passed. The verdict has been passed, and it has been acknowledged by PDP and LP, and they are moving forward to the Supreme Court to appeal, or properly maybe learn from whatever these judges from the Court of Appeal have said they think can't pass on technicality, and they can now properly present those things as required or requested on those technicalities to the Supreme Court. So, and I think the PDP presidential candidate has kind of like moved way ahead, because if you look at it, I saw it like you knew that this would be happening, or maybe his legal team has kind of like advised him on what could happen and what the step should be, and he's pressuring, putting the pressure over there in the US, trying to get the educational information of the presidents the candidates from APC, who is the president of Nigeria right now. So he knew that maybe that sort of technicality could occur. So, and the information he's trying to get now is somewhat related to his educational background, wanting to know truly if he graduated from the Chicago State University as claimed, and even if he did, what documentation did he use, or did he submit to gain such admission to a higher institution as such. So with that in mind, I think Atiku was way aware of what could happen, and he was preparing ahead of what could happen in Supreme Court, or planning to move to the Supreme Court, because even part of the information that got out of what transpired in the courtroom when the school attorney or the defense were saying that in the U.S. courts that the tribunal had already gone, and there's really no reason for the documentation that Atiku, the PDP presidential candidate, was requesting for, and the Atiku's lawyer, or the attorney or defense, made mention of the fact that they need it because the process is not just going to end with the tribunal. There will also still be the Supreme Court, and they are trying to get this information for the Supreme Court. And there have been different presses from other individuals and bodies as well as regards the criminal information on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is the President of Nigeria. And you have these individuals pressing the FBI and trying to get information. And I think many of these people are aware of the fact that the battle is not just going to be at the Court of Appeal, and it's going to move on to Supreme. And while they know that they might lose out at the Court of Appeal, they are also prepping for the Supreme Court. And those are things that they are trying to get. Those are informations that they are trying to get. And nevertheless, do not forget the fact that the APC side is also working tirelessly to find a way to even make water or make watery of whatever evidence or information that the PDP and LP side or any individual would be getting. And not making the matter so good is the fact that we all know the Supreme Courts, we all know the procedures it takes when it comes to dealing with the Supreme Court. So if they are going to the Supreme Court, I see this as a process that might take a very long time. Sorry. The previous one, which happened somewhat with the last election, the matter went to the Supreme Court, and it was towards the end of that administration that the judgment from the Supreme Court came by, and it was still all on technicalities as well. So if going to the Supreme Court is still going to end in technicality, and then, or let's not even bother about how it's going to end, let's even bother about the time it's going to take. For me, like I said yesterday, I feel like the preparation for any of these parties involved in this grudge should be that they are right now planning what they would be doing or what they did wrong in this election, and see how they can adjust and make adjustments for the next election in 2027. So that's just what I feel should be the case, because if they don't plan now, before the end of the Supreme Court section, time would have been spent, and it's going to be close to the next election, and the judgment might still not be in their favor, as it's a win-win, lose-lose situation for anybody when it comes to court cases like this. So I feel that the next line of action for them, for these political parties involved, should be they forging ahead now to how best or how well they can do it in the coming election. For me, I think this last election has really been a learning point, if not. And I think the politicians should learn some couple of lessons with the fact that there is people will, and nothing, power isn't forever, or politics isn't in the same direction forever. This last election showed that there is a new breed of political consciousness with the people. But my fear with what I said yesterday was that the expectation of many as regards the election tribunal was so on the other side, and that expectation was cut short based on technicalities. These technicalities are not what the ordinary and regular people understand on the street, and for that being, that could serve as a sort of demoralizing means for this new breed of political conscious persons. So that's my major concern, that how will these political parties encourage their fan base, their supporters, to see that, well, it's politics we've lost, and we have to reorganize, we have to re-strategize, we have to do this thing better the next time, and wherever we've been shortchanged or outplayed, we need to reorganize those points and make sure that is not happening. Nevertheless, it's easier said, because when you're dealing with persons in power, that's the thing I don't like about elections in democratic situations. I feel like when an election is coming, let all those in power pull out of whatever power that they wield, but it's not possible, because even though you might say INEC is independent, INEC is still dependent. INEC needs money from the executive. INEC means of appointment is still recommendations from the executive. So, in as much as it's called independence, it's not independent in the real sense. And then the tribunal made rubbish of the electoral acts, which is the transmission of the results, and how ineffective that is to decision making as regards the results, as regards how what impacts the means of transmission as the results. So these are my own concerns as regards that. But nevertheless, the game continues. The game continues, and the game is now moving on to the Supreme Courts. LP, PDP, they're all ready to battle it out at the Supreme Court. So what next, or what more will they bring that would now be different from what they already have? And I think part of what the election tribunal judged with or gave their verdict with in terms of technicality is the fact that documentations were not presented in the manner as expected. Give, for instance, the criminal record of the alleged, if you might want to call it, so they don't say I said the president is a criminal. The alleged criminal record of the president. The election petition tribunal is saying that if you say someone has a criminal record elsewhere or somewhere, that the only method they recognize to ascertain that truly that person is a criminal or has faced a criminal proceeding anywhere should be that you have a law enforcement agent recognizing that place where it has happened, or who would take the biometric, who's going to get the biometric of this alleged criminal and ascertain that that criminal truly committed that offense. So what that means is, for them to prove the criminal involvement of the APC presidential candidates, there has to be biometric printing of him in a document by the law enforcement agents, maybe police from where it happened in Chicago, or probably maybe the FBI, and they have to bring that in as the proper means that the law understands to be the proof of criminal verdict or criminal pronouncement on an individual. So I don't think that exists anywhere, because according to what's the information that is obtainable out there, during the proceeding of the 460,000 naira forfeiture verdict in the U.S., the president wasn't on the ground. He wasn't at any of the hearing. It was in absentia. His legal person was the only representative he has there. So there's no way there could have been any biometric information captured on him, because he's not there. And the FBI presently, according to the information that was out there by some couple of persons trying to get the information from the FBI, I think David Undain and some other individuals, it has it that the FBI has stated that information can't be available until, I guess, somewhere end of 2026. So if it's going to be end of 2026 and the next election is going to come up in if it's going to be end of 2026 and the next election is going to come up in 2027, then they might have, the parties involved might just as well be planning for the next election instead of having to want to wait for whatever the tribunal has to say. The only strong thing that I feel can happen is if the court in Chicago gives Atiku Abubakar the go-ahead and gives the school, Chicago State University, go-ahead to release all information to Atiku Abubakar. Then if there's anything found wanting as regards results and documentation submitted to Chicago State University, and if it differs from what is obtainable in Nigeria, then that could be the only place where a case of perjury can come up. But then, the president didn't even submit any any O level or any results to INEC, in the form declared. They stated that he lost this document in some sort of invasion to his house by unknown soldiers. And if you bring something new now from wherever you're bringing it from, the president can say, yeah, those are documents I lost, but those are just copies and not original, so I don't have them. So it's still going to be like, the APC presidential candidate is somewhat looking like, for me legally, is somewhat looking like someone that has his plan well spelled out and ready for this time, and he was ready and knowing that this time would come. And that was just what played out at the election petition tribunal. Let's move on from that. Another information that came out is Russia alleging that United States U.S. government is considering assassination of Niger Republic coup leaders. Russian intelligence service. Let me read the full detail of that information now, so we can get to know what they are referring to as regards that. 1 second, so I can show you guys on the screen what the information would be as I read it out. Okay, so I think we have it. All right, let me move that in. Yeah, so let me move that in so you can see and have a glimpse of what the information is. So Sahara reporters had that on their platform, and it says the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service (SVR) has said that the United States government is considering whether to assassinate the leaders of the new military administration in Niger Republic, who seized power in late July. According to RT reports, the White House is not satisfied with the events in the former French colony, but it does not want to rely on military intervention by Niger's regional neighbors, citing assessments released by the SVR on Thursday. Washington considers that a wet work solution by proxy would Washington considers that a wet work solution by proxy would be preferable to military action by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the Russian agency said. ECOWAS has threatened to invade Niger to restore its ousted President Mohamed Bazoum to office, but has yet to act. French President Emmanuel Macron said last week that his nation would support military action by the bloc. Representatives of the American Special Services are directly discussing with partners who could carry out killings in Niger, the SVR alleged. The preferred candidates would be people who have received special training from the Pentagon schools and belong to the transitional leaders' inner circles. The CIA has a record of attempted assassinations on foreign soil. Congolese leader Patrice Lumumba and Cuban leader Fidel Castro were target of multiple U.S. murder plots as reviewed by the Church Committee in 1970s. President Gerald Ford explicitly banned employees of the U.S. government from participating in political assassination plots in a 1976 executive order. President Jimmy Carter expanded the ban in 1978, adding people acting on behalf of Washington to the order, while President Ronald Reagan removed the political from the wedding in 1981. It looks like the White House has decided to resort to old and, they say, time-tested solutions after facing what it perceives as a surprising and unpleasant geopolitical awakening of Africa. The SVR assessment claimed the Russian agency suggested that the U.S. government would frame any action against Niger's administration as strengthening democracy. Oh yeah. So that's a matter arising. So basically, that's the information coming from SVR, which is regarded as the Russian intelligence service, and they are basically alleging that the U.S. government is planning assassination plots on the Niger Republic coup plotters. Well, they've seen the plotters have actually seemed to be like a big bone in the neck of so many, and the reason is because there's so much vested interest in what Niger possess as a country. My concern has for quite some time now has been that of why Niger, like why, what is really so so important with Niger, what exactly is so special about Niger? Because in the past 3 to 4 years there have been multiple coups in the West African bloc, and you have countries like Mali, you have Burkina Faso, I think you have Guinea, you know. So if there's presently more or less like a military leadership in Chad, why has the ECOWAS or the African Union not been bothered by these other coups? You know, they seem like, okay, you know what, it's coup, we don't care. So why have they? So my concern is, why are they so bothered, or why have they been very bothered with Niger? What exactly has made Niger so special? You know, why is ECOWAS and Nigeria or the AU so bothered about Niger? What exactly makes Niger? So Niger seems to be like the country that has so much vested interest in it, from our neighbor Nigeria and the ECOWAS bloc and the Western nations. For Nigeria, you would wonder, maybe they might claim that it's more or less like they're trying to avoid similar repetition of such in Nigeria, or try to avoid encouraging such in Nigeria. But then that's not enough reason to invade or put a lot of life at stake to plan to invade Niger. Another consideration is the ECOWAS bloc. The member nations that have been, hampering and insisting on invasion has been nations where you have people or men who've been ruling for decades. Give example of Togo, for instance. So when all this comes to play, it's like it's the fear, and given to what has just happened in Gabon. But even though that has turned out to be a family affair, it's now looking like there's inspiration and there's motivation from each one of this coup onto the next one. So the fear of who is next or where next is it going to happen is the real fear for many of these military or what term would I use to quantify them as the kind of leadership that they kind of like offer to their people. So, but I've said, if you go back, way back, into some of my videos in the past, I've mentioned the fact when that of Mali happened, I've mentioned the fact that the major reasons for this coup, for all of this coup, is always found in the fact that many of these nations have their populace economically deprived. So when that happens, coup ideas or coup ideologies or coup plotters would be appreciated by your people ignorantly, thinking they are coming to save them, which is not. And the reason they are appreciated is because those who are democratically elected have ended up serving just their pockets and not the interest of the general populace or the general of the masses of their nations. So that's why you now have a coup plotter in Niger and have the support of its all the majority of its citizens. You know, the same thing happened in Gabon. The citizens were out on the street dancing and jubilating. You know, imagine if the same thing happens with, you know, whatever. I don't want to mention names, but you know that's just a sad situation. You know, and that's just so sad what happens with some of all these places. So the real motivation, the real things that make coups or the coup plotters become or get celebrated is the fact that these nations have their citizens economically deprived, and when such happens, the citizens jubilate, thinking that these things are in their favor, and when it's really not in their favor. Then so like I've explained the vested interest of that of Nigeria, the ECOWAS bloc and all of that. But if you're still watching, or you're probably watching this live broadcast as a playback later on, don't forget to help like, subscribe, share, and you can watch on YouTube on Darkroom blog, or you can watch on Facebook on Darkroom as well. And kindly help follow, like, and share, and let's grow this community together. This is going to be a very interactive section coming on going forward. We'll be having call-ins, and we'll be having discussions on various topics, and I get to hear your opinion, you hear mine, and we get to create some sort of bond on, or create some sort of midpoints on what situations and how the situations can get better and be better for all of us. For me, I feel like the more we talk about it, the more we educate ourselves and improve the life and the method of governance in our society. So so do me a favor, you know, help like and share the video as you watch, or maybe you get to watch it later on in the future, or later on when you play it back as it's a live broadcast. You can help share and like and follow and subscribe, whichever platform you find it on. So going forward, these vested interests all have their interest. Russia is showing its own interest, and it's not, none of this interest is going to come for free. But the major concern is why Niger? What is really making Niger so special? For France, it's a different reason entirely. They have their vested interests as well. You know, they have access to Niger's uranium, and well, they control the country's central bank and monetary policies. So it's like you trying to take away one of their colonies, and that's just what it seems like. And for me, I feel like France isn't going to let go easily, and they are willing to support whoever wants to invade. Maybe they might not have what it takes to do that invasion from a distant position, and they need neighbors who would be willing to put, their men, their soldiers in line for such actions for them. But for me, I feel like the people of Niger deserves support. The people of Niger deserves consideration in any action that would be taken. Let's put those people in consideration. And all the ECOWAS members nation should also put the people of Niger in consideration. Whatever is happening is a political issue that majority of the citizens have no say about, and whatever they support is just based on their knowledge and understanding. So for that reason, I feel like let the people deal with their problems. If the coup plotters are the ones that they like, well, fine. If they get tired of them, let the people chase them out. It's maybe when there is now some sort of human rights infringement, on a massive scale or on a huge scale, from the coup plotters to, ordinary citizens. Maybe some sort of external apprehension or external support can then be understood. But other than that, if the people are good with it, please let them be. So on that note, we'll be wrapping up to this broadcast, this episode, and we've got to talk about what the LP presidential candidate and that of the PDP presidential candidates have decided upon, which is to move forward and let the fight continue at the Supreme Court, and that's where they really want to battle it out. But how will they get more evidence or more evidence as against the technicalities that have been read out by the Court of Appeal, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal? Because if they go ahead to submit the same information as they have done previously with the Court of Appeal, and they take that again to the Supreme Court, it's still going to be the same answer. Because it's still going to be the same answer. So there has to be something new if they really want to get the kind of verdict that they desire. There have to be something new based on those technicalities that the judges from the Court of Appeal has said that they can't give opposite verdicts as against what the INEC status quo has allowed. So on that note, we'll be wrapping up. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share, and keep the notification button on so that whenever I come on live, you get notified and you can join in on the conversation and we can get to talk. And we'll be having call-ins, like I said, where people can call in. You all can call in and we talk about these situations and we get to discuss them. I remain your host, DA. See you guys next time.